Hello everybody, it's Aaron. Today I'm going to bring you guys something a little bit different. I'm not going to be doing one life on this video. I'm going to be just working in Adobe Illustrator, making a nice vector graphic for some books I'm putting together for my a 40k narrative campaign. Basically condensing a bunch of lore and rules and things like that into one sort of larger booklet. In addition to that, I want to add a bunch of different little vector graphics and some special stuff to just throw into the margins and stuff, make it a little more interesting. I figured you might like to see me work in Illustrator. I knew there was some interest in that. So, here basically we're just literally going to make this guy into a vector art thing. This is a model that was painted by Christopher Hollowell. It's just a Blood Axe Nob. It's a good time. I brought this from Facebook, from the Jornath group, so all we're going to do here is just shrink this guy down and fit him into my artboard. That's this black box here. That's the area that's going to be workable. And he's going to be a little blurry right now. That's fine. It's not a big deal. It should work for what we want to do. Alright. Then... yeah, there we go. Just kind of want to get his proportions right. And how I picture this looking when we get done here is just going to be like, maybe have text kind of flowing over that. This might get kind of blurred out towards the back here. So you just kind of have it over, and then this will be sort of like just a shape towards the end. But I don't know. That'll come towards when it actually gets put into the book. We'll figure out what it's going to look like here in just a second. As far as this... I want my opacity options. Oh, I'm dumb. Opacity, turn that down to where it's just barely visible. You still want to see some of the edges and stuff, but not necessarily like, let me turn this probably down some more. My music can go down a little bit. Just barely noticeable, there we go. Alright, so basically like what I'm doing here, you just want it barely visible. You can see some of the edges. You don't necessarily have to go in with a pen tool and do this. Typically, like if you're actually trying to just literally turn this into a vector graphic, you just go in and object and then image trace it, and then you could just bring it that way. Now, the difference between what I'm doing and what an image trace would do to just get like to literally make pathway lines out of every edge on the image is I'm gonna go in and block color certain areas of it and kind of apply like a little bit of like artistic leeway to it. Basically, like, we're not gonna get all of the detail out of the actual image, and whereas image trace is literally going to hit every single edge and turn it into a pathway, which is one of these pen tool paths. I don't want that. I just want the actual model, and then I want to be able to block larger general areas of color out. It's just going to be a little bit... I don't have to clean up as much, and I can kind of govern what I want and what I don't want out of a certain thing. So that's what I'm going to do with it. I like to get to name all your layers. I think having unnamed layers is tacky, so alright. Oh, whoops. Cooperate with me. Actually, I'll just switch it. There we go. You want stroke as black and fill as neutral for what I'm doing here. And then we're literally just gonna go along the edge. And this will actually probably be really easy in comparison to some other stuff because these models are sculpted by CAD programming and by hand, so they're already an art object, which means some of the lines aren't necessarily as like weird as you might get from real stuff. Oops. for anybody following along at home, you just hit Alt key, and that alters, and then click on the vertex, and that'll alter the type of the vertex to either a curve or a hard angle, and that's how we're getting that. We're just manipulating it along the edge. I'm not really gonna take a whole lot longer on this. Just gonna kind of get in there and get the job done mostly. There's big old orc feet out here. That's a right proper lad he is. Look at him. He's ready for the war, he is. Oh, look at him. Get around this boot here. Big meaty boots. Okay. So when you have a curve like this, as you see before, like you can't really do that because it wants to draw it up and over. So that's why you need to change your vertex. You can see it takes the top part of the curve off, and then you can bring it in and kind of manipulate it like you need it. If you were doing this for an actual project, you would not be doing it as quickly as I'm doing this, or you'd be a lot more careful. But this is going in a fan book for 40k nonsense for a group of probably 20 people to see, so I'm not really worried about the super hyper authenticity of it. It's just gonna get colored and we're gonna go be happy campers with it. Okay. Could maybe use this as an opportunity to talk a little bit about what Jornath is. Get back there. Basically, Jornath is, I'm assuming if you're here you know what 40k is, so we're not going over all of that. Jornath is basically a living narrative setting inside 40k, so something akin to the Armageddon global campaign from back in like 2004. I think that was when that was. Most of you, if you're a newer player and you're watching this, you might be familiar with something like the Crusade of Fire or Warzone Pandarax, stuff like that. Basically, Jornath is that, and it was it's a bunch of people with an idea about what they want from 40k that doesn't necessarily get represented in the mainstream line of the fluff that's currently out there, which is to say like the realism of like actual conflict zones, stuff like that. So in Jornath we basically go in and we go, hey, wait, how would an actual like war between humans and orcs how would that occur on like a real scale? Like what would that actually look like? And then so that's what me and some of the other lore people are doing. And then for the other players, you know, like it's just an excuse to kind of be able to do stuff with the armies that you might not normally get to do, like at a game setting. Like somebody can come in with their custom tank that they want to play with, or they could come in with completely ludicrous armies, that kind of thing, that fit with, like, you know, what the actual engagements on the ground are looking like. So if somebody wanted to bring in like your entire conscript army, like, because there's large sections of the planet that don't have a standing military force, etc., you know, that's just a random example, then that would be permissible, whereas you probably wouldn't do that in a pickup game. It just wouldn't be fun for either you or the people you're playing against, typically, because, you know, ideally in a pickup game you want to at least offer some kind of challenge, or you want to be able to like win the game, whereas like on Jornath I've always felt that like the purpose of many of the battles is less about the actual like victory win-loss stuff, and more about the like the story of what the planet is and making a decent like setting to build off of. So like we have so much lore on Jornath that could totally just be like an actual roleplay setting. Like it doesn't even it really need to be situated within any of the larger context of the stuff that's happening on like a galactic scale in Warhammer 40,000. As I remember, when we first started doing Jornath, that was kind of the idea. It was right after the fall of Cadia and stuff had occurred, so it was our reaction, me and Hollowell, and I think it was mostly me and Hollowell, are kind of like, we sat down and I know personally I was like, everything kind of was just like so complicated and like crazy with the return of Primarchs and all of this like grand scale like conclusion stuff, and I just really wanted something for a bigger narrative setting that was maybe like not crazy, right? Like it was simple. Like you could sit down and then you could run on variations on a theme with it, which is why we like we started out with like Orcs versus Imperials on a kind of middle class Imperial planet. That way we could explore like what is normal Imperial life like, how would that be interrupted by an Orc invasion, and what would that look like on like a normal scale for most people in the Imperium. And then from there, you know, you can kind of go crazy with it, like who are the Orcs, what is the role of Space Marines when they show up, or the wider Imperium, how do they view a planet that like typically doesn't have like a martial background. And you know, the people on Jornath are more apt to drink wine and make bread and like hang out or like sing folk songs and stuff. They're not the kind of people that like Arcadians, where they spend every minute from birth training and preparing to fight demons. Like it's not, that's to me not exciting. Like I have so much trouble trying to I don't know, relate to Cadians. Like it just doesn't make any sense to me why they would do like a lot of the guard regiments are that way, where it's the famous ones are all obviously supposed to be like legendary planets that have spent generations after generations of their you know livelihoods like fighting against chaos or whatever. And that's cool. That's cool in its own way. But you know, what do normal people do in 40K? I think that's much more interesting, and 40K is supposed to be really dark. That's why I like it. It's realistic in that sense, and I feel like you need the realism to ground a lot of the more fantastical aspects of 40K, because it's crazy. Like obviously there's insane nonsense. Obviously we have an orc with a gun and a claw thing, and that's cool. This is a cool thing, but like this represents, like, what would you do if a 10-foot tall this thing showed up at your door? Like, you know, how would your life change if these people invaded Earth, etc.? I think that's way more interesting to like see what normal people would do in various situations than what 40K's like main storyline is kind of offering now, which is like, let's look at demigods battling other demigods for the soul of mankind, that kind of thing. And it's cool. It's cool in its own way, but it goes into this whole like, my problem with Space Marines is that they're really hard to relate to, and I feel like part of science fiction and fantasy should be like being able to impart your own like ideas of, I don't know, heroism and like personal aspirations onto stuff, which is kind of why I like 40K, because you know, it just makes sense to me. Like a lot of the like older lore, like Armageddon and stuff, like I just get it. I don't know. I've always felt like some of that stuff was like, yeah, obviously that's how like I would do a thing. Or it makes sense to me. You know? Like you can kind of like Armageddon's the example I go to with, as it's like the campaign that we have the most in-depth knowledge of. It's insane in its own right, but it's insane in ways that I feel like are easier to understand. Like, we have accurate troop movements, and we know pretty much exactly how many orcs there are and how many Imperial Guard forces there are. We know where all the, we know the exacting command structure of a lot of formations on the planet. We know, like, the tactical and strategic maneuvering that took place in the early war to lead to things that happen in the later conflict types. Like, it's, Armageddon's crazy because of stuff like that, and I felt like it's way more likable as a result. But let me just be an ornery. Give me a second here. But anyway, Jornath is basically that, yeah. It's an excuse for us to do some fun, crazy things. There's a weird tendency in a lot of, like, 40k. I don't know if it's weird. I get it. People aren't necessarily eager to, like, do custom units and all that kind of stuff, and like invest a lot of time in, like, writing personalized lore and all that stuff. That's very much like a niche thing, I think. People that are more into, like, Inquisitor 28s, that kind of stuff, which is a pretty small community, all things considered, especially when you consider that 40k is not actually that big. Let's not do that. Let's do this here. Does that look right? No, it goes out here. This is part of the jaw. Okay. I was misled by this. It goes to here. And then goes out. I think that a lot of high fantasy stuff really doesn't interest me. Like, I need some kind of grounding context to why something is happening for me to be able to enjoy it in any kind of way. And 40k often offers that to me. Like, and fantasy, old fantasy, does that too. Where, like, yeah, you're playing with your elves and dwarves and Tolkien-esque monstrosities, and that's cool. But, like, here's why, and here's the 106-page document that explains in depth, like, why the elves and dwarves hate each other in this particular instance. Like, that to me is fun. I love that. And, you might be like, hey, go play historicals, nerd. And I'll be like, hey, I've tried. And I dig it. There's something about laser guns, man. You just can't beat. I think it's that simple. Like, World War II's fine, but I don't know. I need the escapism of something like 40k, but then I also need the grounding realism of something that, like, a historicals environment would give you. And I feel, I don't know. Like, I've tried playing historicals, and they're fun, and I've had a lot of really good times doing, like, moderns and stuff like that, but I'll be honest with you, sometimes you just need orcs, man. Like, look at how cool that is. Let me bring this guy down here. Anyway, but if you guys are familiar, which you probably are, because I'm pretty sure I know how many people are gonna watch this, and I'm pretty sure I know who all of them are anyway, so it's, the idea with what I'm making is basically the old, sad that they're old, but the Imperial armor books from Forge World. They could make him uniform, or because he's an orc, they could not be uniform, but they're probably going to end up being anyway. Yeah, whatever. We'll just change it later, it's fine. So, it's an excuse to do fun little vector art. Plus, I can add it to my website portfolio, and it can still be 40k nonsense. So, multi-use, look at there. Alrighty, I'm just gonna give this guy... Oops, back that out. I've often thought that it was kind of strange that I'm not more into traditional like pen and paper RPGs, and I sometimes I wonder like maybe that's just because I got my start in 40k with nerd nonsense. So like reasonably I'm gonna spend more time invested in what I already have time into. So I think maybe part of it's that, but oops. But also I don't know. I spend and invest a lot of time in doing stuff for RPGs, but I never feel like I get the same level of entertainment out of it. Out of the like planning and investment in it. I've always thought that was kind of strange. That I've like if I have to choose between something like science fiction or high fantasy, Tolkien-esque type thing, like a traditional Dungeons and Dragons environment, I'm gonna choose sci-fi like, every single day, and I don't know why. Not that I don't like the other stuff. Like when Starfinder came out for Pathfinder, when Starfinder came out, which is a basically sci-fi version of Pathfinder, which is 3.5 D&D, basically. That was awesome, and I still want to play more Starfinder. Like, I absolutely love that game system, and it's literally just Pathfinder in space, which, I think is great. But, I don't know, I feel like less limited when I see something like Starfinder, or when I see something like 40k, where you go, yeah, laser guns and planets, and you can do anything. But then, I feel like it's my, tendency to, put historical tendencies into things. Or I need to be it has to be very feudal Europe. It has to ascribe by a certain set of laws and dictates and such that you would find in really actual Europe and this and that. And I don't know, it just doesn't work for for fantasy games. I find myself getting frustrated by it sometimes. I've gotten better with it. I feel like I've done some stuff with Cavern Crawl and things that, which is a obscure internet dungeon crawl rule set that I've basically torn apart and re-engineered to be my own thing. Whoops. Get out here, you crazy. There we go. Much better. Re-engineered to be my own, fun little doodad. Get out here. What are you doing? There we go. Better, better, better. Look at him. He's so choppy. I'm actually gonna make this guy just a little bit more defined, so I can see what all this nonsense is. Okay. Gotta get in here again. you're gonna see corners like this. I'm gonna end up eliminating all the black outlines, so we won't need them later. That's why I'm leaving them. I know you are concerned, so. Kind of dig the music. I don't know. I feel bad talking over it. Just let this song play out. I'm gonna work a little bit. Looks like the power claw comes in here. Alright. So, I didn't really talk too much about what actually Jornath was before I got super distracted and ranting on random stuff. So, basically Jornath is an orc invasion of an imperial held. Yeah, they're post-industrial. It's a post-industrial planet. It's kind of got a like oligarchy government, like really big like noble families, mostly merchant houses or like merchant house aligned groups that control vast sections of the planet's wealth and material. We based a lot of it off like North Italian Renaissance, like that kind of period. So there's that, and there's areas of it that are very like inspired by the Balkans and that kind of like Eastern European flavor of hijinks, etc. Particularly the mountains. The orcs, we don't really have a strong origin for them. They just show up. We have pretty good records or documents describing like the initial involvement of orc forces on the planet. Rocks and kill cruises and localized planetarian thing, like assaults and stuff. Ultimately, I'm not sure I need an origin for the orcs, like in the same way as you might want something for like a human asset. I feel like, you know, when you start personifying the orcs in the same way, it gets boring. I don't know. That's not to say like I don't want to personify the orcs in any way, because I don't like that orcs are kind of not typecasting. I mean, I guess a little bit. You know, I find it hard to believe that any species of advanced intelligent life is singularly faceted on a single thing. Like, that looks weird now, but it'll look okay later, because it just looks weird because of these corners. But it's gonna look just like a smooth transition to get this going like this, and bring this guy in here a little bit, and pop this like this, and then you bring it right on. No, come here, come here. Here we go. Something like that. You're getting the color, but it'll look bigger and different, so it's fine. It's fine, trust me. It probably won't be, oh my god.
sure I didn't harness the power of the sun.
No, it's definitely sticks. Mean with sticks.
Alright, go get him.
The Space Marines have kind of been playing around with a little bit more. I typically absolutely hate Space Marines. They're super one-dimensional characters, and I've fallen out of love with them a lot. Like, they can be really cool. I've often talked about, like, I really like the disillusion of one's own humanity for the greater good, and like the ramifications of that. And I felt like that was why Chaos was really cool. Like, Chaos Marines to me were my favorite because it was somebody that chose, like, what we would today. I like, Chaos Marines made a choice that almost everybody in, like, modern society would make, right? You're like, would you sacrifice, if you suddenly found yourself to be an all-powerful, immortal demigod, would you, like, spend your entire life knowing that you're gonna die in service to a brutal authoritarian regime that you understand is a brutal authoritarian regime that is oppressing people, but, like, given your own, like, wider understanding of the universe, you realize that it's super important that that happen? Like, could you reasonably live with yourself knowing that that was a thing? Or would you be like, no, I know how I could fix this if I just do this, this, and this? Like, I feel like almost everybody in, like, a normal modern society would be like, no, I'm gonna use my abilities as what I am, like as a space marine or whatever, to, like, go improve my life and hopefully someone else's. And then that ultimately leads you into the path of damnation, you know. Like, I've had a lot of discussions with most of you guys. Like, nobody starts out, like, feeding children to the soul grinder. Like, it's not, like, a thing. Nobody, like, enters into chaos being like, yes, that's the thing we need to do to fix the Imperium, right? Like, I think it's not even interesting when you make them Saturday morning cartoon villains. Because, you know, the, like, real evil, the really impactful evil people, like, you know, they believe wholeheartedly they're doing something for the greater good of mankind, like, which is why I like Black Legion a lot, because I feel like those are the guys that are like, no, they just want an Imperium without the Emperor, basically. I know they don't now, that they've been corrupted by demons and stuff, that's different. But I feel like that's the instigator of that motivation, which is, like, more interesting, I think. And I've been thinking about writing a short story from the perspective of a Manus warrior about that, and then kind of exploring, like, non-combat aspects of 40k setting, because it's always been something I really liked a lot more than the rest of the setting, which is maybe a little ironic that I like 40k, and my chief interest in 40k has nothing to do with, like, the conflict zones as much as the, like, oh man, I wonder what trade doctrine is like. I am the person that watched the Star Wars prequels and went, damn, I love me some trade policy. Like, I know it's I want space C-SPAN. Maybe. It's because I'm a hipster art student, which, I mean, you're watching a video of me working in fucking Illustrator, so that's really your fault for getting this far, isn't it? But, you know, ramshackle is fine, it works. Let me get this line in here. Basically what's going to happen here is we're going to go in and, like, color all of... We're making a coloring book is what we're doing here. I'm just going to go in and shade different areas, and it's going to look so pretty. Trust me. Or don't. It's really up to you, I guess. We're going to do something in a minute. Not quite yet. Almost done, I think. After I get this, like, gun and bandage finished out, but those two. But basically, after we get all this stuff sort of sectioned off, we can go in and actually, like, you basically just circle areas of highlighting. This is kind of based off a project I did years and years ago in high school that was like, you like draw all of the highlights and shading areas on your face, like using a clear transfer or like AV. Oh god, what are the things called? Overheads. You know, like a projector, and you take an image and you trace you take a picture of yourself and then you put it on like underneath it, underneath a piece of the old like clear acetone paper that you use for transfers or like overhead displays, and then from there you display it onto a canvas and paint it. Which that's what this is, or that's what this is based off of anyway. Not that this is particularly high-minded and artistic, but you know, it kills time and it looks alright when it's done, so. This is a good way to spend a morning, I think, anyway. I was initially really hesitant to get the Adobe Creative Cloud when it came out. I didn't think that it was worth the money. It is. You should totally get it. The subscription is annoying. I hate not having the option to buy something in a hard copy that you need as a professional. I think that's really frustrating. But they have added so much value to this package since I first started using it. They keep adding newer and better programs to it, so I feel a lot better, and especially if you can get it at a student pricing or something, I'll hands down do it. You won't be disappointed if you think you actually want to do art with it, and Creative Cloud has just about every program you could think of on it, so it's worth taking a look at if you're kind of interested in doing art and that kind of thing. There's some sound mixing software on there. There's Flash, obviously. I might actually mess around with Flash soon. I'm not good at Flash. I haven't used it in a long time. But that looks terrible. Let's not use that, actually. I haven't used Flash in a really long time, but I do love doing animations, so, and just thinking about getting back into it now that I have these YouTube videos, maybe making a little Flash intro type thing for videos and stuff, make it a little more polished. I think that'd be fun. I don't even add tags to these videos because I'm not particularly interested in sifting through YouTube trolls, but you know, maybe there's a potential employer. They'll come in and they'll be like, "Wow, look at that video with its nice introduction." You know, one can hope. There we go. All right, let me get this guy going out right there to right there. That looks bad now. I also was thinking about making some like live action videos, not like not like movies or anything, because that would, I mean, I have ideas for that stuff and it'd be fun, but I just, not right now. Just doesn't feel like a good time. But like model work, like painting and stuff like that, because I think it's fun and I like watching those, so you know, figured I'd make some videos like it. Set up a little tripod while I'm painting models and stuff, just kind of talk about, because that's actually something I'm like vaguely decent at. Whereas this, I'm like, I don't do it enough to be like anywhere near like good. Like, I mean, it's fine. It does alright. It does the job I wanted to do, but it's not like, I would never ever say that I'm like pro tier at any of this yet, and I want to be, and I'm just not there yet, but we'll get there eventually, and that's why I'm doing this. And, you know, hopefully we get there. Whoops, that is wrong. I did the wrong thing there. Yeah, it's fine, whatever. I've been, in terms of miniatures making, messing around a lot more with like finishing techniques. I'm sure like weathering and rusting, and like everybody that starts out doing any kind of weathering effect, I go like super in. I got really into it. So now everything I have is just gross and destroyed because I like figured out how to do a rust effect efficiently enough that I like personally like the way it looks. So now everybody's getting rust. They gonna be some rusty boys. Which, I mean, I guess the name of my blog is like Skies of Flies, Grounds of Rust, so it makes sense. You can't blame me for having rusty models. Come on now, I play works. And I've, you know, Death Guard, so honestly it's your fault for for not appreciating rust more. Boom. Alright. You don't realize how much is on these guys until you like sit down and literally draw your way around every detail a knob has on it. You get in the zone and you're like painting and doing stuff, you just kind of, I don't know, I feel like you see it but you don't notice it as much. But now you're like, oh man, everything has to get ugh. All things must be detailed. Oops. There we go. Okay. when you're transitioning between this state here, where you're doing a single line between an already established path and another path, you actually have to toggle between the two. So I'm changing to hotkey V to hotkey P. That way you can toggle it off, so it's not gonna, the next thing you hit isn't another line path, because it'll try and close the path out. You don't want that to happen. So. It's just gonna look weird. It's just gonna be a... When this gets done, it's just gonna be like skin tone layers, so it's not gonna actually matter. But alright. I'm thinking basically done here after we get this guy finished out. Ooh, look at him, he's a right shooty lad, he is. Ooh, wow. I'm, you know, it's fun. Alright, the next thing we want to do, now that we have kind of the lines set, is we want to go in and circle with the pen tool any major like highlight lines. Oh, I missed this. So like this would ideally be a different color, and then areas near here like this would be a different color. So you want to go in and be like, and these can kind of just be like curvy shapes, because you can go absolutely crazy with this. Like you could go in and like every like little bit of this you could rope into a different section of highlighting. I'm not gonna do that because I want to eat like lunch today and stuff. But dark areas, anywhere there's gonna be a major highlight, like this part of the pant will probably be its own section, that kind of thing. And then when we get done, we're basically going to live path the entire image, which will in effect isolate each of the negative spaces between active paths, and these are active paths, this red line. Then from there we can go in and yeah, just apply color to it, and it's gonna look nice. And then you get rid of the black highlights, because the black highlights make it look like a coloring book, and you want it to be like, wow, no, I'm actually really good at art. No, really, you guys. Whoops. No, really, you guys. Stop it. Just gonna do it this way, I guess. There. Happy now? Now, if you're doing real vector art and not cheating like me, you get some really nice like gradient layers and really get in here and like you like know how you're gonna shade stuff and with what colors and all that stuff. There's a lot of planning involved in it. We're not doing that here, because, like I say, you know, cheating and stuff. So, this is also 1,000 times faster than that. And for the purpose, I'm not worried about sitting down. I'd rather actually have the models painted and then get some nice terrain going and stuff than to have a vector art in a book that no one's going to look at. But, you know, irregardless, I think he looks alright. So he'll look fine in the end, I hope. The only really difficult part here is just remembering which ones are structural lines and which ones are, like, you need to make this into a color line. Like, it's just a, you know, a portion of the gradient of the thing, and that, like this one would be a structural line because it's literally demarcating a secondary area of the panel. So in order to do that, you'd need to have like I'm gonna have another shadow underneath of it. It's gonna be darker, but oops, wrong button. So you go in and then you go. Because you can see there's actually like a shadow there. Skin tone's really annoying, especially this, because he's an orc, so it's going to be weird dark shades everywhere. I actually usually leave the faces blank, because I feel like it, I don't know, it makes it more of an art thing anyway. I mean, it's yeah, I guess it's technically easier, but I actually like the way it looks more anyway, but you know how it is. Sometimes you just, I don't know. We'll see how it looks. You guys just get rid of it if I don't like it. not gonna try and do anything super crazy here. Just kind of get him done out, so you can kind of see a finished project here in just a minute. Color doesn't take too long at all. Oh, video playback went down. That's weird. Hopefully I still have... No, I lost internet. That's what it was. Okay, well fortunately, I do not need internet to do this. I mean, it is raining heavily outside, so that's, you know, probably where that came from. Just gonna get the highlights here. I don't have to talk now. There's no classy music. Like, you can see how you can spend a ton of time doing this, and honestly, like the more variations of color that you do along the actual image, like these sectioning off elements, the better it's gonna look, because you get so much more like depth out of it when it's finished out than you would otherwise. You can kind of see what I'm talking about here, like it gets confusing to see like exactly what you're looking at. But ideally you can remain cognizant of what you're doing. Ideally. I mean, if not, you know, whoops. But hopefully, anyways. Alright. Pop that little thing in there. Probably give this guy just a quick little loop around the old tummy. There. Good stuff. Cool. This will be an important area here. Just get some of the... to like make it look like a hand when it's finished out. That'll be important. Alright. There. You know, so in addition to this, I'm probably going to be making, obviously, like I said, like the miniatures painting videos, and I don't know if I want those to be like tutorializing. I always feel weird doing like a tutorial, because I don't know, question my own abilities. Yeah, but videos of me doing stuff and explaining things about what I'm doing, maybe that's a tutorial. I don't know. I don't really think of like what I've done here as really a tutorial at all, so I feel like it would just be this, but a little bit more concrete if I'm painting models, because like I said, I know what I'm doing better there. I've been doing that for a long time, and I do that pretty often, so I can at least give some better perspective in terms of, you know, what you want to look for and what you want to do when you do a thing. So I don't know, maybe that'd be fun. Yeah, I also kind of want to do more of this type stuff. and just talk about art and weird ideas I have. Okie dokie. I think we're gonna call that decent for the moment. Well, we might go ahead and do the power call really quickly to get some kind of color definition here. Just a little shade. More. Sure. Great. Okay, good enough. So then, okay. Hey, that's a proper orc. He's ready for crumping. Okay, so you'll select everything here, and then you'll go to this image over here, and you're in Shape Builder tool by default. You want to move down and go to Live Paint Bucket, and then just click somewhere. Cool. And so now you can see it's like highlighting certain areas. That's what we want. We want it highlighting stuff. So first things first, we're gonna go in and we're gonna make some lovely orky colors. Just a proper orky goodness. Color themes. Oh, that's right, it's internet connected. So dumb. Libraries. Oh my god. Just that moment you realize everything is connected to the internet. It's sort of dumb. That's a nice bright color. Alright. Well, actually, that one would be brighter, wouldn't it? Because he's so this. Okay, that color there and there. You can see what we're doing here, just going in and filling out all those tasty details. It's actually needs to be darker than that. There we go. I feel like it looks a little better. once you pick a swatch, you kind of want to just alter the tonality of it for your variations. You make sure that you're doing it all the same if you're going to have something like this where it's like a skin tone. I don't know how that's going to look when we get done, but we'll see. Alright. Next, we're going to go in and I think do the bandage, I guess. Okay. You can find your like mid-tones. That's actually probably, we want to go here with it. And then as we get around to this other side, it's going to get darker and darker. Here's definitely one I needed to do more banding on, because you're going to see it's not going to really read as a bandage so much when it gets done, but I don't know, whatever. I can maybe trick it by doing this, where it's going to be like slightly different colors and shades. It won't necessarily look realistic, but you'll get the gist anyway. A lot of silver. It's like bronzy color here. Should look a little better here in a minute, but can't really tell right now. There's a lot of weird coloration just from the outline, but you'll see in a minute. Use hard silver here. Some of this stuff, actually that one's a little brighter, so put that there, this here, darken that up, but like a lot. There we go. This will be super dark. Whoops. Not this here. make that black. Oh my god, who's messaging me? I do get really randomly frustrated about that, and I don't know why. Like, the sound of my phone going off makes me really angry. Like, who dares bother me, that kind of thing. Which is probably a really bad thing to have, but whatever. Because it's probably just Jess or my mom or something. And I like those people. So, you know, it seems odd that I would be, like, really annoyed by it, but I am, and I can't tell you why. Not a fan of some of these. Don't think those have been colored. I don't remember what they are. Oh wait, I do now actually. Yeah, they're just the mergy bits. I can make them a little bronzy or something. Ew. Super huge sections of color, cloth nonsense. I know this is supposed to be a snake bite. I'm not doing the camo, so we're just gonna give him kind of like a brown pant or blue pant. Right in here, bomb. Alright. Oh, that's actually underneath the pouch, so there we go. Okay, then we need some browns going in here. Somewhere in this region. Okay. Very happy shoe. Look at it. So nice. So clean. It's just happy to be here. Being a shoe. Do do do. Diddly do diddly do. If you see this, then you know it's still hasn't been done yet. I'm trying to think of a good shirt color for him. And while we're doing that, we'll finish up the metal colors here. Those extreme highlights. Boom. Boom. No, too much. Boom. Boom, boom. Maybe a little darker. Boom. This is another one that really needed like a lot more banding, but I just didn't do it. Sad times. Oh well. I mean, it's getting up there in terms of time, so you know, I just kind of wanted to give it a whirl and see where we ended up with it. I wasn't really sure how long it would take. So there's just absolutely no plan in this. I just kind of decided to do a video haphazardly. So that's what you get. Wog. Shup, shup, shup. Get in there. I don't think these are actually done yet. I have to make him have some disgusting, awful nail things. Yeah, there we go. That's a right pretty nail, there's. Hoo 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 hoo. He's right. Shirty, look at him. Oh, that's a get there. Shirt color. I wonder if we could just do variations of white, but off blue maybe. Do off blue, like a robin's egg blue kind of color. There and there and dark, dark, dark here and here and here. Here actually, and then really dark right there and there. That's empty. This is this. Trying to think. I think there's only like a handful of places that I haven't really done stuff yet, and we'll see them here in just a second. Okay. Alright, so I'm pretty sure I got the majority of that done up. What I'm going to do now is absolutely turn that off. And then we go in, highlight the guy, and turn this stroke to null. Whoops. And we turn the stroke to null. In a minute, but I want to see. Okay, that doesn't look terrible. I was worried that the power claw would look way worse than it does. But, no, it's not doing the thing right. There we go. That's what I wanted to do. Yay, look at him. Okay, so here you can see, well actually, some of that's actually white, that's right. So I can put them on a background real quick here. So you can see you get some of the blending from different things when you do there we go. There you go. So, yeah, there's a finished Ork Boy piece of vector graphic art. Pretty good. And then obviously you can go in and save that as a you save that as a JPEG or any number of different things, and have a good time with it. You could always, from here you can add in whatever you'd like to in terms of like actual word art, whatever. I'm gonna be like leaving it on a transparent background so that way when you import it into a Word document, you're just getting the actual background of the background of the actual Word document itself. So any kind of like watermarking and stuff that you do is going to go right behind it, which I think looks pretty good. Yeah, I know this is a really long video, but thanks for watching. If you've stuck around this long, if you were following along, then I hope you have a really cool piece of vector art. Feel free to come in and watch next time. Hopefully it wasn't too unbearable. Alright. Thanks so much, guys.